My name is Gloria Wolf. I'm with the University of Minnesota Extension. I'm a SNAP Ed educator in Carver and Scott counties. My program is part of health and nutrition programs, and I welcome you today and our special guest, the cabbage. I love cabbage. It is one of my favorite vegetables. We can grow it here in Minnesota from June until September, and we can buy it year-round at the grocery store or at our farmer's market. Today I'm going to show you how to use cabbage and a favorite recipe of mine, cheesy pasta with summer vegetables. If you're not going to use your cabbage right away, once you've brought it home from the food shelf, your grocery store, or the farmer's market, know that you can store cabbage for up to 14 days in your refrigerator, especially well in the crisper drawer. Here we have two beautiful cabbage. They've been in the refrigerator for up to 14 days. We're going to take them out now to begin our recipe. So I've taken our cabbage from the crisper in the refrigerator. It looks great. It's ready to go for our recipe. Cabbage is a leafy vegetable. It's in the cauliflower family, kale family. It's a super vegetable. And if you see on the outside leaves, which are nice and dark and green, there is a little bit of discoloration. This cabbage was cut off the stalk and came right out of the field. So we're going to have to remove some of the leaves that are discolored, such as this one. Let's take a look on the other side. A little bit of discoloration there as well on the rib. Have to take that leaf off. What we'll be able to do though with these leaves is to cut off the discoloration and use much of the leaf in our recipe. I'm going to keep examining the cabbage, looking for discoloration. I'm going to tear that off. This is a beautiful cabbage. It's nice, it's a nice size. It's of a great shape. It's developed well. I'm anxious to work with it. So let's get started by first washing the outside. My family loves cabbage. I grew up with cabbage because in the Polish culture that I grew up in, cabbage played a big, important role in making cabbage rolls at home. I would go to the store with my dad. We'd find the biggest cabbage available at the grocery store. We'd take it home. He'd put it in the biggest pot of water that we had. And the leaves would start to fall off of the cabbage head. And those leaves were then used to make cabbage rolls. While the cabbage was cooking, the ground beef, the onions, all the special seasonings my dad put into his cabbage rolls were cooking on the stove. And then when that was done, we would peel off a leaf. This will be a little harder, but in the cooked pot of water, that leaf would come off. We would put some ground beef and rice and seasonings inside, roll it up into a cabbage roll, set it in the roaster, and bake it in the oven. I grew up on cabbage rolls, so it is just a great part of my history growing up and has always been a favorite vegetable of mine. I'm going to cut this cabbage in half. Be sure to use the bare claw hold whenever you cut to avoid cutting off those fingertips. There we go. It's beautiful on the inside. How do you know it's healthy? Well, I know that it's full of vitamin C for sure. And vitamin C is great for our immune system to keep us healthy. It's also full of antioxidants. Antioxidants help fight cancer, breast cancer, colon cancer. I know cabbage is healthy for those two reasons. It's got a lot of fiber in it as well. For what I need today for our pasta with summer vegetable recipe, I'm going to cut this. Let me safely cut it in half by putting it down on a flat surface, using that bare claw hold with my knife, and I'm going to cut in half. Okay. here's what I'll need for our recipe today. And I'm quickly just going to rinse over the top of it like this. Little discoloration, a little piece of dirt there. I'm going to get my brush. Otherwise, I'm just going to tear into that cabbage and take that piece out. And take this little piece out as well. There, I'm ready to go. Get some water boiling for the pasta for our recipe. So cabbage is a star of our recipe today, but also featured are other great vegetables that are especially good in the summertime or year-round. We have broccoli, we're going to have some zucchini, we're going to chop up some onion for our recipe, and the last part of the recipe will be to add some cherry tomatoes. Now I'm going to wash them under the sink, under the faucet. Because I'm going to use the zucchini with the skin on it, it's important to scrub. I'm going to take a brush, scrub my zucchini. Don't need anything other than plain cold water to scrub whatever bacteria might be on the zucchini. Next, I'm going to wash the broccoli. Get to the broccoli on the inside like so. Get out any little critters that might be in our broccoli. Set up shop in there. We want to make sure everything is washed and cleaned. And clean that off as well. You can even scrub that because again, this is what the finished product is when it was grown. I'm going to wash the outside of the onion. It's important to wash all of our fruits and vegetables because they've been growing outside. When we get them, they're in their fresh, natural package, but we don't know what insecticides might be on them, what conditions they were exposed to in the fields that they grew in. So it's just a great safety precaution to always wash your fruits and vegetables. And now our fresh, clean vegetables are ready to go. For today's recipe, you need to choose 8 ounces of your favorite whole wheat pasta for the recipe, which you're going to cook and have prepared, as you can see in my red colander. I've chosen penny pasta. You can choose bow tie, rotini, or even spinach pasta, which is colorful for your children. Whole wheat pasta gives us a great serving of the fiber we need every day. Each serving of this penny whole wheat pasta gives us 5 grams of fiber. We need 25 grams of fiber each day. So take a look for the amount of fiber grams in the nutrition facts label. Also look at the ingredients in the recipe. You want to be sure that the box says made with whole wheat flour. Whole is the key word in choosing whole wheat pasta. So we're going to start chopping our vegetables now for our recipe. First, of course, is onion. I have a half of an onion. I'm chopping it into small pieces for the recipe. You can make the size of the pieces of onion what your family prefers. Sometimes we have to hide the onions in our recipes. Today I'm going to make about a medium-sized chop. And that'll be about a half a cup of onion that we'll need for our recipe. Next, we need 2 cloves of garlic. I have already peeled these 2 pieces of garlic. The easy way to get the paper off of a garlic clove is to lay it on your cutting board, set the knife down, and just give it a little push. And that will help the peeling to come off. All right, so here are 2 cloves of garlic, which the recipe calls for. I'm going to use my little bear claw hold and then chop it up as finely as you can. If your family prefers more garlic, by all means, add it in. But the recipe indicates 2 cloves of chopped garlic. It's going to make the recipe smell wonderful, taste delicious. All right. Next, I'm going to cut up some zucchini. I've already cut half of the zucchini. I'm going to cut it into half-size pieces just like this. So what I did was to slice the zucchini down the middle. We always want a nice flat surface when we're cutting our vegetables for safety. I'm going to cut off this end and the other end as well. And I'm going to move my onions aside and begin to chop my zucchini using that safe hold again. You can put the point down on your cutting board as well and get through that zucchini quickly without having to give much movement to the knife. Using the peel and all, which is great. So much nutrition, so much fiber and vitamin C in the zucchini. All right, so that is ready to go. I think I'm going to get the onion out of the way here. And move the garlic as well. All right, let's put our zucchini over to the side. I'm going to cut up some broccoli. Don't ever throw any part of the broccoli out. Here's the stem of the broccoli. Don't ever throw this away. You can use every piece of the broccoli. For this recipe, I'm going to make small, tiny cuts on the ends of those little stems and throw that right in with my recipe as well. Then, if the little trees of the broccoli bunch don't fall apart on their own, you can just start cutting them up into little pieces as well. You want this to cook quickly and be crunchy in your recipe. And it's already a beautiful green, but it's going to be even more gorgeous once it starts cooking in that olive oil and garlic and onion. Cook a little bit more. And if these pieces are a little too big for your liking, that's a little too big for your recipe, just do some chopping. The smaller the pieces are, the faster they'll cook. I'm going to get my skillet going. I'm going to turn it on medium to 350 degrees. We're going to use olive oil, a great plant oil, a healthy oil. This recipe calls for 1.5 tablespoons. 1 tablespoon. And then we'll fill this up halfway again. All right. And we'll stir that around. It's going to be delicious with the olive oil. All right, I'm going to move my broccoli over here. All right, I've got my cabbage on a flat surface. I'm going to use that bear claw hold, and I'm just going to start slicing this really thin. And once I slice it, it starts falling apart. It'll cook very quickly in this recipe. You can use every part of this beautiful vegetable. Okay, I like to feel over my oil like this to make sure it's warming up nicely. I'm going to first of all put in my onion and garlic. Here's the minced garlic. Here's the onion. It's going to start smelling delicious in here in about a minute, just as it will in your kitchen when you're making this recipe. There we go. All right, let's get that stirred quickly. This heat is causing the flavors and the aromas to be released from the vegetables. You know when your onions are ready for the next portion of your recipe, when they start to turn a clear or translucent color. And you notice I'm moving my utensil around very quickly. We don't want them to burn. All right, that's been about a minute. The onions and garlic are looking great. Next, I'm going to add in what are called the harder vegetables, the vegetables that need a little more time to cook. So in will go the broccoli, some zucchinis trying to escape. All right, I'm going to wait a couple of minutes, about a minute on the zucchini, because it's not quite as hard a vegetable as the broccoli is. And here are these little tiny pieces from the broccoli stem that are going in as well. If you feel your vegetables need a little bit of moisture, I've saved some of the water from the cooked pasta, which I'm just going to pour in right now, just to put a little steam and a little moisture into the recipe without having to add any extra oil. Now I'm going to add in my zucchini. What a beautiful color recipe this is going to be. So we're going to have about 4 cups of vegetables in the recipe. Going to add a little more moisture. Remember, this again is the water from the pasta. Oh, that broccoli is turning a beautiful green. Looks wonderful. Smells wonderful too. Now we're going to add in the star of the recipe, this beautiful cabbage, sliced thin. I'm going to add it in. It's sliced so thin, it's going to cook quickly. I think we'll leave that piece behind. And now we're going to stir it in with the other flavors. It's beautiful. We're going to give the cabbage a little minute or so to catch up with the rest of the vegetables. Oh, I'm going to take this piece out. That one should be a little bit smaller for purposes of our recipe. And you know, when you cut vegetables, it doesn't have to be perfect, just so they're part of every recipe that you cook and always present at your family's dinner table. You could use kale in this recipe. You could use spinach. You could add some shredded carrot. This is a great framework recipe. If you have the pasta, vegetables, cheese, seasonings, you're good to go. All right. So now that the vegetables are getting to the tenderness and crispness that I'd like, I'm going to add in some seasonings. I've put in 1/8 of a teaspoon of pepper, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and I've added a teaspoon of Italian seasoning. And I'm going to, you don't want to just pour this into the recipe. You want to make sure that it's spread out to every part of all the vegetables in the pan. So I'm going to sprinkle it into the recipe like this. Okay, then I'm going to give this a little stir. Oh, it smells great. And I'm going to do some more sprinkling. That way it's getting to every portion of every vegetable in my recipe. It's really making the flavor pop. Oh, I wish you were all here to smell it. And then, all right, there we go. Now, the very last thing, and to add some really beautiful color to this recipe, I'm going to put in the tomatoes. Look at how pretty that is. And those tomatoes just need a little bit of time to warm up. Just beautiful. All right. That's about 45 seconds for those tomatoes. Now I'm going to add in my pasta, the whole wheat pasta that's been cooked according to the package directions, drained and rinsed. This was about a half a box of the pasta that I used to make this recipe. If you wanted to double the recipe, you could of course use the whole box of pasta. All right. I have a nice ratio of vegetables to pasta. Not too many vegetables, close to 4 cups that the recipe called for, and half a box of pasta that the recipe also called for. So we have a half a cup of mozzarella cheese. We're going to add to the recipe a great white cheese, low fat. We're going to sprinkle that onto the recipe. Oh, look at that. Looks terrific. Oh, it looks terrific. You'll be proud to serve this recipe to your family. You'll get a lot of comments on it. So I have a 1/4 cup of Parmesan cheese. This is a fresh Parmesan cheese, but if you have in your refrigerator the kind that you shake out of a can, that's okay too. Don't make a special trip to the store for fresh Parmesan if the kind in the can is what you have. And now I'm going to sprinkle this into the recipe. And I'm going to give this a stir. It smells delicious. It looks delicious. You could also, if you wanted to add protein to this recipe, add some cooked beans, or if you have some leftover chicken, you could cut that up and add it to the recipe as well. Now it's time to enjoy. I'm going to scoop up 1½ cups on my plate. That's a serving. Taste and enjoy. Mmm. Delicious. Thank you.